Sweetheart, calm down. Don't be selfish. That's what my mom said while strangers she'd hired carried boxes with my sister's name into my living room. My dad barked orders upstairs like he owned the place, and years of work vanished one cardboard box at a time. Every sacrifice, every night I stayed late at the office, dismissed with a single smile. For a moment I almost believed them. Maybe I was the problem. Too protective. Too cold. But before you decide I'm the villain of this story, wait until you see what was written on the deed, right under their names. My name is Savannah Cole. I'm 30 years old, and this house, the one they tried to invade, wasn't a gift. It wasn't handed down in a will, and no one helped me buy it. I earned it. Every skipped vacation, every freelance gig I took after midnight, every promotion I clawed my way toward, it all went into this home by the lake. My safe place, my proof that I was more than the forgotten daughter. Growing up, it was always my sister. She was the miracle child, the one who could do no wrong. When she brought home a B, my parents clapped like she'd saved the world. When I brought home an A, they barely looked up. Her birthdays meant balloons, cakes, relatives crowding the living room. Mine came with a promise, we'll celebrate later, that never happened. You think a kid forgets that? No, it sticks. By the time we hit our teenage years, the roles were set in stone. She was the princess, I was the spare. So I stopped asking for their attention. I started building my own life, my own identity, one quiet victory at a time. I worked through college, paid my tuition alone, and told myself one day I'd own something that couldn't be taken from me. When I finally signed the deed to this house, I thought I'd broken free. Maybe, just maybe, they'd be proud. But instead of pride, I got comments like, "Must be nice not having kids to worry about," or "Don't get too comfortable. Savannah, life changes." I smiled through it all. I thought keeping my distance would keep the peace, and it did until that afternoon. My phone buzzed while I was at work. It was my neighbor Savannah. "There are moving trucks in your driveway. Did you sell your house?" My stomach dropped. Within minutes, I was racing home, heart pounding. When I pulled into the driveway, my world tilted. Movers I didn't know were marching across my hardwood floors carrying boxes labeled kitchen, master bedroom, kids room. My sister's handwriting, "Stop." I shouted louder than I meant. Everything froze. The movers exchanged glances. My mom turned toward me with that same patient smile, the one that always made me feel small. "Sweetheart, calm down," she said gently, as if she were talking to a child. "Your sister's family is struggling. You have all this space. You don't need it." I clenched my fists. "This is my house, paid for with my money. You don't get to move people in without asking me." From upstairs came my dad's booming voice. "Don't be selfish, Savannah Family Shares. You should be grateful you even have this place. Now it can actually serve a purpose." That word selfish burned hotter than ever. They'd spent my whole life calling me that, twisting my independence into guilt. Then my sister stepped forward. Her arms crossed, chin lifted, her husband smirking behind her. "Oh, come on, Savannah. Don't act like you need this house. You're single. No kids. No responsibilities. You don't even know what a real burden is." Her words hit harder than my dad's roar, because deep down it confirmed what I'd always known: they never saw me as enough. The movers hesitated, caught in the family chaos. One finally asked, "Ma'am, your mom hired us. Should we keep unloading?" I turned to him, my voice steady. "No, stop unloading. She's not the owner. I am. If you keep going, you're helping commit theft." They looked at each other, then slowly set the boxes down. One muttered under his breath, "Good luck." That was the moment I knew this wasn't confusion or miscommunication. It was planned. They thought I'd fold like always. Not this time. I pulled out my phone and hit record. The red light blinked, catching everything, the boxes, my mom's fake. Calm, my dad's thunderous stride, my sister's smug smile. "Savannah, turn that off." Mom snapped, her mask slipping. "This is family business." "No," I said. "This is legal business now." My sister lunged for my phone. "Delete that. You're not making us look bad." I stepped back. "You don't need my help to look bad." My dad's face turned crimson. "You will not drag this family's name through the mud." I laughed, cold and bitter. "You broke into my house. You hired movers. You tried to evict me from my own life. Tell me, Dad, which part of that is a misunderstanding?" The room fell silent. Only my heartbeat filled the air. That's when they realized the old Savannah, the quiet one, was gone. I looked each of them in the eye. "You need to leave. Now." They didn't move. My dad's jaw clenched. My mom whispered something to my sister. They still thought they could outweight me. So I walked to the front door, shut it, and slid the deadbolt with a click. The sound echoed like a gunshot in a church. "You're not welcome here anymore," I said. For the first time, they looked unsure. And that was the beginning of everything that came next. They thought I was bluffing. My dad puffed out his chest like his authority could erase my name off the deed. My mom switched tactics, her voice softening into the kind of tone she used to guilt me into apologizing for things I hadn't done. My sister whispered to her husband, certain I wouldn't dare take this further. But fear wasn't in charge anymore. I walked to the front door, turned the lock again, and said quietly, "You're not welcome here." The click of that lock hung in the air. My sister flinched. My dad's jaw tightened. For the first time in my life, they looked uncertain. Mom gasped, "Savannah, don't say things you'll regret. We're your parents." I lifted my phone, showing the recording still running. "This video goes to my lawyer tonight, and if you step foot here again, the police will have it too." Dad stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous. "You wouldn't dare call the police on your own family." I met his stare. "Try me." For once, the room was quiet. No lectures, no yelling, just silence, thick enough to choke on. My sister's husband muttered, "Let's just go tugging at her arm." But she shook him off her pride louder than her common sense. "You think anyone will believe you over Mom and Dad? Everyone knows how dramatic you are. They'll laugh at you." I smiled small and sharp. "Everyone will believe the deed. Everyone will believe the video. Everyone will believe the text where you admitted you were moving in." Her mouth snapped shut. They picked up their boxes in angry, jerky movements, muttering curses under their breath. I didn't move until the last one stepped out. Then I slammed the door and locked it again. This time the sound didn't echo like warning. It rang like victory. But I knew it wasn't over. They'd twist the story. They always did. So I took a photo, just one. The front door, boxes stacked outside. My sister's name written across them in thick black marker. Then I opened my social media app and typed 5 words. "When family forgets boundaries." That was it. No details, no names, just that photo and those words. It spread faster than I could have imagined. Friends, coworkers, even people from college I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me. The comments poured in sympathy, anger stories of their own. For the first time, I wasn't the one standing alone in the dark. By nightfall, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Missed calls, Mom, Dad, Sister, dozens of them. They'd spent years ignoring me. Now they couldn't stop reaching out. That night, I turned my phone face down and let it vibrate itself into silence. By Friday, it had turned into chaos. At 8:14 p.m., 3 voicemails came in back to back. Mom, first, her voice trembling. "Savannah, please. Take it down. We'll talk. We'll fix this." Then Dad, still trying to sound in control. "Enough is enough. You've made your point. Stop this before it ruins us." And finally, my sister, sharp, furious, entitled, "Delete it, Savannah. You don't know what you're doing." But I did. For the first time in my life, I knew exactly what I was doing. Saturday morning pounding shook my front gate. I pulled up my camera feed on my phone, and there they were. My family, standing outside my gate like strangers. My mom's hair was disheveled, her pearls missing mascara streaked. Dad's voice had lost its usual thunder. He looked smaller somehow. "Savannah, please, Mom called. We can talk this out. Don't do this to us." Dad's tone cracked. "You've made your point. You don't understand what people are saying about us. You're tearing the family apart." I almost laughed. Tearing the family apart. They'd been doing that for years. I just finally stopped pretending it was fine. Then my sister stepped forward, fists clenched. "Delete the post. Let us move in, or I swear you'll regret this." I leaned toward the intercom, my voice calm but sharp enough to cut. "Regret. You pawned my trust for years. You tried to steal my home. You humiliated me, and now because the world finally sees it, you think I'm the problem." Her lips trembled. Her husband whispered something, tugging her arm, but she didn't move. I pressed the button on my phone. The house alarm blared loud and shrill. They jumped, startled. My mom covered her ears. My dad grabbed her arm, dragging her toward the car. My sister froze for a heartbeat, then ran after them. Neighbors peeked through their curtains. Dogs barked. And just like that, the people who once owned every room I entered were reduced to intruders running from their own reflection. By Monday morning, the fallout had begun. My post had been shared thousands of times. At work, people whispered when I walked by. Is it true my sister's boss called her into a meeting about personal image? My mom's charity group cut her off from every luncheon, every glossy magazine photo she'd used to build her reputation. Dad's golf buddies stopped answering his calls. Their perfect image polished for decades shattered in a weekend. And I didn't have to yell, didn't have to fight. All I had to do was hold up a mirror. Of course they didn't stay quiet for long. The second wave came in voicemails full of guilt trips and old tricks. Dad's voice first low and almost rehearsed. We're your parents. We raised you. Don't you owe us some loyalty, loyalty? That word made me laugh, the same loyalty that was never returned to me. Then Mom, her tone soft and trembling. Family sacrifices Savannah. That's what love means. Funny how sacrifice always meant me giving something up. And my sister, oh, she tried a different angle entirely. You're ruining our lives over nothing. You'll end up alone, Savannah. Completely alone. Maybe once that would have terrified me. But as I sat in my living room, the sunlight reflecting off the lake, I realized I wasn't alone. I was finally free. Still, I wasn't naive. Shame could turn to rage fast. So I gathered everything, videos, screenshots, contracts, and sent them to my lawyer. His reply came quickly. You're protected. This is airtight. And that's when I knew this wasn't just about a house anymore. It was about rewriting the rules. The next confrontation came face to face. I was coming home from the grocery store when I spotted them parked across the street. My parents, my sister, her husband, all sitting in the car like ghosts who didn't know they'd already been buried. I stood by my trunk loading groceries into bags, pretending not to notice. But the moment my mom stepped out, waving her hands, I knew peace was over. Savannah, please, just 5 minutes, she pleaded. I straightened the car door, slamming behind me. You don't get 5 minutes, I said evenly. Not anymore. Dad got out next slower this time, his posture smaller than I remembered. You can't destroy us over pride. Think of your sister's children. Where will they go? For a second, the words pierced me. The kids, my niece and nephew, innocent in all this. But I knew what this was, another manipulation, another way to make my empathy a weapon against me. I set the last grocery bag down and shut the trunk. They'll go wherever you provide for them. That's your job, not mine. My sister burst from the passenger seat, her eyes wild. You heartless witch. You'll regret this. You'll regret ever crossing me. I didn't flinch. I met her rage with quiet calm. I already regret giving you the chance to walk into my house. That won't happen again. She froze for a moment, then slammed the car door so hard it rattled. The engine roared. Tires screeched. Neighbors stepped outside, curious. I stood still, letting them all see it, letting there be witnesses. By the end of that week, everything shifted. The calls slowed. The threats stopped. And the silence that followed wasn't tense anymore, it was victory. They weren't just losing me, they were losing everyone else too. I'd learned something in those quiet days. Revenge didn't always need fire. Sometimes it came wrapped in stillness, in patience, cold enough to outlast their anger. That silence became my weapon. Because while they scrambled to rebuild their image, I didn't move a muscle. I didn't take the post down. I didn't answer their calls. I let the world decide for itself. And the world had already made up its mind. By the next Monday, the storm had fully broken. My post still pinned at the top was being shared by strangers across states. Comments poured in from people who'd lived the same story. This is my mom, too. I thought I was alone. Thank you for saying what I never could. For years, I'd begged for my family's validation. Now I didn't need it. I had something stronger proof that I wasn't crazy, that my boundaries were valid. Meanwhile, the consequences kept unfolding. Mom's charity circle dropped her from every committee. No more luncheons, No more front-page features in local magazines. Dad's golf club quietly removed him from the board to avoid controversy. And my sister, her company's HR department asked her to take a leave until her family matters settled down. The empire they built on reputation collapsed faster than I could have imagined, and all I did was tell the truth. It was strange, though, how quiet victory can feel. No fireworks, no dramatic music, just me sitting on my back porch, coffee in hand, watching sunlight ripple across the lake. That house had once been just a dream, 4 walls and a deed with my name. But now it was something more. It was a line in the sand, a declaration. They used to tell me that love meant sacrifice, that family meant surrender, but I'd learned something different. Love without respect is manipulation, and family without boundaries is just control. I used to think standing up to them would make me the villain, but the truth is, sometimes you have to be the villain in someone else's story to be the hero in your own. Weeks passed. One morning, as I was making coffee, my phone buzzed with an email from my lawyer, case closed. Property secure. No further claims possible. I smiled a small private smile and finally exhaled. The house was quiet again. Peaceful. But it wasn't the fragile peace I used to chase. It was the kind that comes when you stop apologizing for existing. Later that night, I stepped out onto the porch, the moonlight glinting off the water. I thought about all the years I spent trying to earn their approval, chasing a version of love that was always conditional. And for the first time, I didn't feel bitter. I just felt done. I didn't need them to understand. I didn't need them to see me, because I finally saw myself. By the following Monday, the world had moved on, but something inside me hadn't. Not anger, just clarity. I didn't hate them. I didn't wish them harm. I simply stopped giving them the power to hurt me. I kept the post up, not out of spite, but as a reminder to anyone scrolling through their own family's chaos that boundaries aren't cruelty. They're survival. Every so often, messages still came in from strangers. Your story helped me leave. I stood up to my mom today. You gave me courage. And that more than the likes or shares was what mattered. The lake breeze was cool that evening. My reflection shimmered on the surface of the water. I thought about the word selfish, how they'd thrown it at me my whole life like a weapon. But maybe selfish isn't always wrong. Maybe sometimes it just means choosing yourself. That's what this house became, a symbol of choosing myself. Not out of spite, not out of revenge, but out of peace. Because love doesn't mean surrender, and family doesn't mean ownership. So if you've ever had to draw that line, if you've ever been called selfish for standing your ground, know this: you're not alone. You're just finally free. If this story hit close to home, tell me in the comments, have you ever had to stand up against your own family? Your words remind me I'm not the only one. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that prove sometimes loving yourself means saying no.